My name is Katie Branum, and I am from Jonesboro, Arkansas. I am a sophomore communication disorders major at the University of Arkansas. My chosen artwork, The Indian and the Lily, is located at Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas, and is painted on oil and canvas by George DeForest Brush. George DeForest Brush was raised in Brooklyn, New York, and Darien, Connecticut. He began studying at the National Academy of Design in New York in 1870, then went to Paris to be trained by renowned artist Jean-Léon Gérôme. Following his training, Brush returned to New York to find a subject for his art. He soon became fascinated with the traditions of the indigenous peoples of North America and lived with various Native American tribes for a year. Some of his other important works include the two canvases of Mother and Child, Mourning Her Brave, and The Headdress. Specifically examining the Indian and the Lily, we are able to categorize and identify several formal elements present in the work. Brush's use of light, color, and composition create the romanticized serenity and purity emitted by the work. The light is concentrated on the subject, the Native American, but is neither intense nor dull as it reflects off the man's shoulders and hair as well as the water on the pond in a way similar to that of a mid-morning sun. The saturation of the colors is very natural on the man and on his immediate vicinity. However, it very quickly becomes much darker the further you get from the foreground. This coloring creates a sharp distinction between the Native American and his background, and, symbolically, between the Native American's ideal, untouched life and the hastening industrialization that is soon to become his reality. If we analyze the Indian and the Lily through an iconographic as well as a biographical autobiographical lens, we arrive at similar conclusions by way of a different path. It is apparent that Brush's affinity for Native Americans heavily influenced his art, as they were his most prevalent subjects. Because he was so assimilated with the Native Americans, and because he lived with them for a year, this portion of his life became the actual text, the actual guide by which he was able to construct his perceptions and knowledge of his subjects. The main icons or contents of this painting are the single Native American and the single lily. This is extremely important and revealing, as it creates a sense of autobiography for these two individual members of their respective larger groups. This choice in iconography could be explained by Brush's experience living with the Native Americans. It is very likely that this man, the subject of the painting, was someone with whom Brush was well acquainted. These subjects being portrayed and interpreted as textual icons has larger implications for the meaning of this painting, as it reinforces the idea of Native Americans as individuals and, more broadly, of individuals as important and meaningful, perhaps even more so than the group as a whole. As mentioned earlier, the style of the Indian and the Lily is highly romanticized. Following from that, this painting can be classified not only as having a romanticized style, but as being influenced by and contributing to the Romantic movement and the style of Romanticism. The ominous shapes and dark hues in the background contribute to the haunting aspect of Romantic art, while the warm yellow, tan, and white hues in the actual subject bring out the sense of nostalgia and idealism that is seen repeatedly in and that is characteristic of other Romantic works. As a final consideration of the Indian and the Lily as a member of the Romantic movement, direct comparisons can be made between Brush's The Indian and the Lily and Theodore Jerry Cult's Madwoman with the Mania of Envy. The first formal similarity is the centralization of color to the main subject of the painting. Another is the use of pose and physiognomy to portray the respective personalities of the subjects. The Madwoman is paranoid, the Native American is peaceful. These subjects additionally tend to be controversial or marginalized, as seen by Jerry Cult's portrayal of the child murderer and Brush's portrayal of a member of a prejudiced and persecuted society. While the extent of societal disdain directed at the two subjects may vary in degree, it is clear that a crucial aspect of Romantic art is the humanization and idealization of otherwise disregarded people or movements. Brush's idealization and appreciation of humankind as seen in The Indian and the Lily is exactly what drew me to this painting in the first place. Since I was a child, I've had a strong affinity for Native American people and the ideologies they embody. When I went to Crystal Bridges, I was immediately drawn to the Native American exhibit, which portrays changing attitudes toward Native Americans throughout American history. Brush wanted to depict Native Americans in their most ideal form as a protest against rapid industrialization and expansion. I very much respected and admired this sentiment and found that I liked the painting even more after understanding his motives. This painting makes me and anyone who views it consider the haunting possibility that had the noble aspects of the Native American community been made aware to the American public, perhaps they wouldn't have been so quickly dismissed as a savage and inferior race of people. I think great art does exactly that, makes important the seemingly insignificant and challenges or alters previously held beliefs. This is why I find the Indian and the Lily to hold intrinsic value, because it, in itself, serves the function of art in general, which is to think, to feel, and to understand, if only for a minute, what it means to be human.